Let's talk about a story of ambition, power, and one single fatal mistake. We're diving into the life of Khan-e-Jahan Lodhi, a massive figure in the Mughal Empire, whose incredible rise was matched only by his spectacular and really tragic downfall. So, how does that even happen? I mean, how does a guy who's one of the most trusted governors in the entire empire end up as its most wanted fugitive? That's the question we're going to unpack. We're going to follow the path that took this powerful man from the very peak of imperial favor to a rebel on the run, hunted by the same system he once helps lead. Okay, first things first. We really need to get a sense of just how high Khan-e-Jahan Lodhi had climbed. We're talking about the reign of Emperor Jahangir here, and Khan-e-Jahan was, without a doubt, at the absolute top of the food chain. He was the Subadar of the Deccan. Now, you gotta understand, this wasn't just some fancy title or a cushy desk job. This meant he was the governor of a huge, strategically vital, and incredibly wealthy part of the empire. He had a massive army and tons of administrative power right at his fingertips. So to put it simply, Khan-i-Jahan was a really big deal. He had the emperor's ear, he had the power, he had it all. But as it always does, the political landscape was about to change in a big way. A new emperor was on the horizon, and that change in leadership was going to put his loyalty and his ambition to the ultimate test. And this is where it all starts to go wrong. We're at the turning point, a truly fatal miscalculation. In the scramble for the throne that followed the emperor's death, Khan-e-Jahan made a critical mistake. He decided to back a prince. And he bet on the wrong one. Things started moving incredibly fast. In 1627, Emperor Jahangir dies, and the empire is thrown into chaos. Khan-e-Jahan, thinking he knew which way the wind was blowing, threw all his support behind Prince Shah. The only problem? He completely underestimated the man who would actually win the fight, Shah Jahan. Seeing all this chaos, Khan-e-Jahan saw an opportunity, not just to back a new emperor, but maybe to carve out something for himself. He started dreaming of independence, and he put a price on that dream. The price of his first major betrayal? 30,000 rupees. And this number, it tells you everything about his ambition. He took that 30,000 rupees as a bribe from an enemy state, Ahmednagar, and in return, he sold them a chunk of Mughal territory called Balaghat. Think about that. He used the empire's moment of weakness to literally sell off a piece of it, all to build up his own power base. Now, here's the crazy part. When Shah Jahan finally took the throne, you'd think he'd come down on Khan-e-Jahan like a ton of bricks. But he didn't. He actually offered him a full pardon. He respected his past service. All he asked was for Khan-e-Jahan to get that land back. But our guy, he's getting paranoid. He's thinking a new emperor means a purge is coming. So he hesitates, he delays, he does nothing, and he completely squanders his one and only chance at redemption. So he's blown his shot at a pardon, and that paranoia is just getting worse. This is the moment he crosses a line he can never uncross. He's about to go from being a nervous, disgruntled noble to an open enemy of the entire Mughal state. What was the final straw? An audit. Yep, paperwork. Shah Jahan's new chief minister, the wazir, started a really strict review of all the nobles' books. Khan-e-Jahan knew. He just knew that his little 30,000 rupee deal was going to come to light. And that fear of getting caught, that's what pushed him right over the edge. And so, he runs. He flees the capital, Agra. That single act right there was the official start of his rebellion. He wasn't a governor anymore. He wasn't a court noble. He was a fugitive, and you can bet the imperial army was sent after him almost immediately. So now the whole story shifts. Khan-e-Jahan is on the run, but Emperor Shah Jahan, he's not the kind of guy to let a rebel get away. What followed was a slow, methodical, and absolutely overwhelming response from the full might of the Mughal Empire. And look, Shah Jahan didn't just chase him. He was playing chess. He had a whole playbook. First, peel away all of Khan-e-Jahan's friends and allies. Second, use a massive three-pronged attack to surround him. Third, attack and crush his forces. And fourth, just relentless pursuit. Don't let him breathe until there's nowhere left to run. It was a masterclass in how to use imperial power. You see, the real genius here was political, not just military. Shah Jahan was brilliant at winning over local powers. Most importantly, he got the Marathas on his side, under a leader named Shaji Bhonsle, who, by the way, was the father of the future legendary king Shivaji. This move completely isolated Khan Jahan, cutting him off from any help he hoped to get. With his support network just crumbling away, the end came fast. His army was caught and smashed in Bundelkhand. This was his first major military defeat, and it was a bad one. And then, his most important ally, the ruler of Ahmednagar, the very guy he'd sold land to, he saw which way the wind was blowing. He completely abandoned Kaniza Jahan, leaving him to face the Mughal army all alone. He gets desperate. He flees north, trying to rally support from his own people, the Afghans. But it's just too late. The emperor's power is absolute, and his cause is completely lost. Nobody wants to join a sinking ship. The end was just brutal. His family paid the ultimate price. His sons, his relatives, captured and killed. With just a handful of followers left, he was hunted down, chased relentlessly, and finally cornered at a place called Sinhoda. And there, in 1631, the two-year rebellion came to a very bloody, very definitive end. Khan Jahan was killed in the final battle, and as was the custom, his head was cut off and sent to Emperor Shah Jahan as proof that the rebellion was over. So, after all of that, we're left with this question. Was Khan Jahan just a simple traitor driven by his own greed and paranoia? Or was he something more complicated? Maybe he was an old-school noble, a relic from a time of looser imperial control, who just couldn't adapt to a new, more powerful, more centralized empire. Was his dream of independence a betrayal? Or was it the last gasp of a world that was already gone? It's definitely something to think about.